Chairman, affordable housing is of critical importance to families across the nation, but today's federal regulations are making access to manufactured housing more difficult to obtain. This is particularly concerning considering that 45% of current manufactured homeowners have an annual household income of less than $30,000. 13% of manufactured home owners are retirees, and 15% of owners are unable to work or are disabled. To these people and others, manufactured homes offer a value at a price that can't be beat. The fact that our government has regulations in place that stifle their ability to purchase a manufactured home is appalling. This is of particular concern in rural America, where manufactured housing in places like Kentucky provide an attractive and affordable housing opportunity for many Americans. Earlier this year, a hospital worker in Kentucky applied for a loan of $38,500 to finance a manufactured home. He had an 8% down payment. His monthly income was $2,200 per month, plenty to cover the all-in housing costs of $670 a month. The payment for his own home would have been less than what he was spending on rent, but he was unable to get financing. He contacted his local bank and credit union, but they could not finance the manufactured home. Why are lenders not lending? First, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's definition of high-cost loan failed to account for the fact that the fixed costs associated with purchasing a house, do not change relative to the cost of housing. In other words, points and fees on a $70,000 manufactured home will be very similar, if not identical, to the points and fees on a $400,000 home. Nonetheless, the current definition discriminates against manufactured homes, and the banks, credit unions, and other lenders are following the rules set forth by the CFPB. Second, the government's definition of loan originator is limiting the ability of manufactured housing retailers to help potential buyers find the financing that they need. Because potential borrowers are getting less help in finding potential lenders, fewer manufactured homes are being purchased. H.R. 1699, the Preserving Access to Manufactured Housing Act of 2017, will fix these problems, and it will make it easier for Americans to afford a manufactured home for themselves and their families. This legislation amends the definition of high-cost loan to accommodate the manufactured home and purchases of manufactured homes up to $75,000 easily, and creates a new rate trigger on points and fees for such loans. This is in recognition of the simple mathematical fact that fixed costs on smaller loans translate into higher percentages of the total loan. Additionally, this legislation excludes manufactured housing retailers and sellers from the definition of loan originator, so long as they're only receiving compensation for the sale of the home and not engaged in the financing of the home. I want to thank my Democrat colleagues, DeFazio, O'Halloran, Peters, Rice, and particularly Congresswoman Sewell and Congresswoman Sinema for their contributions to this legislation and their support of this legislation, for making this a bipartisan effort. I want to note that this legislation has been endorsed by the Manufactured Housing Institute, the National Association of Realtors, and the Mortgage Bankers Association. If this legislation were to pass, and I believe it will, we will no longer face a situation where the federal government is protecting people right out of their homes. Instead, more Americans will have access to affordable manufactured housing again. And I believe greater access to affordable housing is something that should and can earn the support of both Democrats and Republicans. Affordable housing, especially in rural America, that's not a Republican or Democrat issue. That's just basically an issue of the American dream. So let's get the federal government out of the way. Let's restore some common sense to our regulatory approach coming out of Washington, and let's let Americans have access to the American dream, access to affordable manufactured housing. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back the balance of my time.